Hi, let me show you a tutorial on the FireGuide Genogram Builder. After you log in, you will see that you are on the dashboard. From here, you can create a new genogram. You can import a Gedcom file, or you can import some quick text where you would paste some text into a text box. Let's go ahead and start our first genogram. It's going to ask you to create a title for your genogram. After that, you'll be taken to the canvas, which is currently blank. Quick overview: on the left side, you'll have the key or legend. This will show what is actively being used in your genogram. Since nothing is here, it is blank. If you would like to see everything, click Show All, and it will display all of the possible options that there are. Down in the bottom left, you have a zoom in, zoom out. You can also pinch on the touchpad or use your mouse wheel. Up in the top right are your navigation buttons. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to add a person. We have our available genders. You can click and then click to drop, or you can click and drag. As soon as you have dropped your new person, the edit panel will open where you can enter in a person's name. You can set them as the origin or the focus person of this genogram. There can only be one. You can change the gender, birthday, and so forth. Let's go ahead and throw a birthday in here. Down at the bottom, you can also adjust your display size. If you want this icon to be smaller or larger than the normal size, you can adjust it there. You can also customize the text color, and we'll get into that more. In this edit panel, you can also add some additional details. There is religion symbols that will put a little icon next to the person. You can turn that on or off. Also in here, we have the attributes. So these are the standard pattern fills. We've got some border colors. There are some letters, a little S for smoker, language, so forth. And then we have our quarter section color fills. These are all customizable, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. Under the relationships tab, this is where you could edit relationships. So spousal relationships, children relationships, and so forth. We also have a section for groups that I will talk about in a minute, and then some other miscellaneous stuff that really has to do more with importing from Gedcom files. So here's our new person. Let me give this person a name and click Save. Now let's go ahead and add this, give this person a partner. You can select the person and click Add New Partner, or you can add a new person and then use a relationship link to link them that way. Easiest is just select the person, click Add New Partner. Notice that it will add it with no gender, so you do need to remember to set a gender. And then let's give this person a name. And we'll throw in a birthday. And remember to click Save. There we go. Now let's give some parents. Same thing, you can click and do Add New Parent, or you can add a person and then create a child-parent link. We'll just add a new parent. Again, it defaults to other, so we're going to do male and give this another name. And how about a birthday? Something like that. We'll give that person a partner. Random names here and a birthday. We'll go ahead and say that she's deceased, but we don't have a, oops, forgot to set this. There we go. And again, these, once they're placed, you can move them around, just click and drag. The lines will follow and automatically keep everything clean and linked together. Now let's give this person, let's give him a child. So we're going to click Add New Child. You'll see it defaults to the child of both of them. If you need to make an adjustment to that, it would be under the relationship section where you can adjust specific mother, father, twins, all that kind of stuff in there. Let's give this one a name. And we'll just leave it that for now. Keep it simple. Oh, except let's add a gender. Okay, so basic family, same rules would continue to apply. You could build this off in as many layers as you want. Now for some of the extra features that we have. One is to keep things clean. These connection points, you'll notice default in the middle. You can move them if you want by just going over this section, and then you can click and drag if you need to rearrange this for some reason. For linking, let's throw in some emotional links. So we're going to go up here to add a link. We'll do an emotional link. Choose the type of link. Let's do, I guess we'll do some hate. And then just follow this. It'll say click the first person to start the line, and then click the second person. There we go. The line is connected, and now as you move these people around, that line will stay connected. Now, for pretty much everything on here, if you want to edit something specific, click on it. So we can edit the emotional link, we can edit the relationship link, and we can edit the parent-child link. All of these will have different options for you with customizable colors and so forth. When it comes to the emotional links, you can change the link type. You can give it an optional arrow if it doesn't naturally have an arrow. So say this was a very specifically directed hate, Mary towards Sally. You can throw an arrow on there. You can change the default color and pattern if you want something specific. And then finally, you can add a node. These will draw initially in a straight line. If you want to curve it, you would add a node. And it's going to put a dot right in the middle of the longest segment, of which that point you can click and drag and move it around. You can add another node to make a box, whatever shapes you want. You can just keep adding nodes. Just remember, when you add a new one, it's going to find the longest segment and throw it in the middle of that segment. Now to delete a node, just double click it and it will remove that node for you. Fairly easy. Remember to click save, and there we go. There's our new custom hate line. And you'll see, looking in the legend, it's showing just the items that we're currently using on the screen. And when you export, it will do the same and only show the stuff that was actually used. And now on here, you can see when you click on the canvas, you can move things around. You can zoom in, zoom out, so forth. Some other options we have is text boxes. You can click add a text box and then click to drop it somewhere. Type in whatever text you want. You can adjust font size, color, all the different settings. You can add a border to the box with additional settings. You can change the background and transparency levels of the box. It does auto size to the text, but if you want it a specific size, you can click and drag and make this box whatever size you want. And then in addition, if you want it to be pointing or linked somehow to something specific, you can use this link to object. Just follow these directions. So click on the object. You can do a person, you can do lines, whatever it may be. So I can click on Gary, and now there's a link line that is showing to Gary no matter where I move this box. If you want it to point the other direction down here at the bottom, you can flip it and have the arrow point towards the text box. Oops, let's cancel that instead, like that. Text boxes, you can only move them when you're in edit mode. So as long as it's highlighted, you can move this text box around. And then just remember for everything to click save, so that way it properly saves it. We also have shapes. So shapes are a good way to group things together. It may be a familial group. It may be maybe a common religion or a common income or ethnicity, whatever it may be. Where there's a few different shapes you can choose: a circle, a square, or a polygon. For all of these, you click on it and then just follow this instructions at the bottom. Click to start, and then as you move the mouse, it'll get bigger or smaller. Click to finish, and there's your shape. You can drag it around. It sits behind everything, so that way you can use it as a highlighting feature. Shapes, you can give it a name. and it will be included in the legend. If for some reason you want color and you don't want it in the legend, just click exclude and it won't include that in the legend. But if you're using this to group people, you probably want to, give it something. You can, work, whatever it may be. You can change the color, change the transparency to keep it light. If you want to put a border around it with all the border options, whatever you want, click save. And shapes are the same. You can't move them unless it's in edit mode. So click on it, and then you can move it around, click save, and so forth. Same thing for pretty much all of these polygons. It's just click. Each time you click, it makes a point, and then double click to finish the box. And then all the same rules apply. I'm going to delete that one. And that's pretty much it. When it comes to the people, if you want to open up that edit window, a quick way to do it is just double click on the icon and it opens it right up. Or you can select the person and go up here to edit, and that will also open up that edit window. A few things to be aware of in the menu. So at the top we have settings. This is where you can rename your genogram, which is also shown up here in this header bar. You have an option to make this public. If you choose public, you can copy this link, and anyone that you email or give this link to will be able to view this canvas genogram. They cannot click on anything, edit anything. They can't open up any windows. So some of that extra information that's in those fields, they won't be able to see if it's not on the canvas. This is just something to show if you want to give it to a coworker, a client, or a classmate or instructor or something like that, just to show them your work. You can just give them that link and then they can open this and view it just like this. They just can't change anything. If you want to keep everything anonymous, just check this box, and the link that they open, the system will change all these to random names. So your layout stays the same, but the names will be hidden. So you can kind of keep some anonymity there. If you uncheck this public checkbox, that link is automatically void. So if you've given out that link, if you turn it off, that link will no longer work to be able to view this. You have the option of including that legend on exports. If you want it as part of a PDF, you can turn that on and off. In here, you can also adjust the text that is above and below the person icons. We default to the birth and death and the name, which is kind of standard, but you can add whatever you want of most of the fields that are in that person edit panel. If you wanted to include education up top, you can do that. These you click and drag to reorder them, and it will change the order up top. Same thing on the bottom, it's the same options, so forth. So you can customize the text that you want. Word wrap just helps to save some space. If I were to turn that off, you'd see the names are a single line instead of broken into two lines. Below that, we have font. This is where this will adjust the overall font of all of the text on the screen. If I turn that up, you see that going up. It doesn't change the age, but everything above and below it'll adjust. Same thing with all of these settings. This is the overall text color. This is the overall background color behind all of that text. Now, if you were to set that on that person's edit panel, that would override it, so it would be specific to that person. As long as nothing's been set specific, this will adjust everything. You can turn on and off the age inside the icons. If for some reason you wanted to hide it, it defaults on. And then the relationship line, that's just this drop line. If you add a bunch of text, it doesn't auto resize because it could create other conflicts if you have a very busy genogram. But you can manually adjust this up and it'll bring that line down to give more space. Or if you just want something really, really short, you can lower this down to give a really short line like that. And then finally, the last thing on here is the customize attributes. This is where I was talking about. You can edit all these pre-built attributes that are in here. Say suspected illness, you didn't want it to look like this. You wanted a different type of pattern. However you would want that built, you can adjust it like this, click save, and it'll only apply to this one specific genogram. Also, you can add custom attributes in here. So we'll just say sick. You can choose from a pattern type, a border type, which is just the outer border color, a quadrant type, which is the standard 4 quadrants colored, or a text, which would put a little letter on the outside. So if I choose a color quadrant, choose a location, and then you can choose a color, whatever color you want, click Save. Then that'll be available in that attribute to choose, and it will also show up in the legend. That's pretty much everything from the settings. Up here we also have groups. Groups is similar to shapes, but this would be if the people that you want to group are not next to each other. Someone is way off here or way off to the right, but you still want them grouped. This is another way to do it. You can have them grouped by a common text color, a background color that's behind the text, or you can highlight them, which it'll put a little kind of a highlight around the icon, which I'll show you. So choose the type you want, type in whatever label you want, and you can choose a color, whatever color you would want. Click Add to List, and they will all show up here, and you can edit them, click Save. And now when you go back into the Edit panel under Groups, you'll see that as an option. When you click it, this is what the highlight option does. So you can highlight a bunch of different people in different colors that way, and it also shows up under here as a group. You can only choose one of each type. So this person obviously can only have one highlight color at a time, but you could do a highlight color, a different text color, and a different background color. So you can kind of do 3 different groups at once. Plus you have the shapes that you could also do. So potentially 4 options to group things that way. Next we have households. This is just a way to group, again, certain families together. So I could create a new household and call this the Doe household. And then we'll just put Gary and Sally in there, click Save. And then if I close that, you'll see right here, it created a box, which is easier to see if I move this out of the way. But this is a family box, and it'll try to keep that name out of the way. So as you move things, you'll see that label kind of bounce around. But it's just a family household grouping, and you can do as many people you want, and it's just going to automatically create a big box around them. And then we come to export. So you can export your genogram as another Gedcom file. It is standard Gedcom format with some of the extra stuff that we have saved in there. So you could use that as a backup. If you were to load it back into this Genogram Builder, it will have all of the specific Genogram Builder stuff in there as well. You can do Gedcom X. You can also export it as a PDF, PNG, or JPEG. These 3 will have the optionally the legend attached if you were to choose it. And then also you can choose the size or the resolution based off of how big your genogram is, and it'll give you the estimated pixel size of how big that would be. And just click Export, and it'll save it to your computer. Finally, on here we have collaborators. So we do have the option of you can have multiple people working on the same genogram. I've tested this a little bit. I can't say if you had a lot of people working on the same time. Trying to keep things synced is the issue. It does try to auto sync about every 15 seconds, but if people are making a lot of changes at once, you may have an issue. So it's better if you only have 1 or 2 people at a time, but multiple people could be editing this, throughout the day at different times. Just throw their email in here, whether they have an account with this or not. It will send them an email. They can click on it to create an account and be added as a collaborator. They can do everything that you can do as the owner, except they cannot delete the genogram, and they cannot mark it as public. So they cannot share a public link without your permission. Only the owner can do that. If you want to give someone else ownership, once you've added them as a collaborator, you could choose their name down here and transfer it, and they would become the new owner, and you are now a collaborator. So you would lose some of those extra privileges. But that's pretty much all that there is to the overall program and how it works. I definitely recommend keeping an eye on the change log that's down here in the footer. I will try to keep that updated with new additions and changes and stuff that I make. And please, if you run into issues or you would like to see a new feature, please go into the forum and post there, any kind of stuff. I do monitor that, and I would love to try and add more features as I can. So enjoy.